Imagine a corner of the Pacific where the ocean looks like it was color graded by a filmmaker. 50 shades of blue stacked on top of each other until your eyes stop trusting what they see. There is water here that glows, islands that look hand-sculpted, and a lake where you can float among golden jellyfish that, in the right conditions, barely sting. And the weird part is this: even if you love travel, even if you obsess over tropical destinations, even if you have a whole saved folder of paradise on your phone, you have probably scrolled past this place without realizing what you were looking at. Most people fly halfway across the world for Bora Bora. They know the name, they know the overwater bungalow shot, they know exactly what the trip is supposed to look like before they even land. But what if I told you there is a place even more surreal, more untouched, more wild? A place that feels less like a resort fantasy and more like a secret chapter of Earth that somehow never got spoiled. Welcome to Palau. Now, before we go any further, let me set expectations the right way. Palau is not the kind of destination that tries to impress you with polish. It does not scream for attention. It does not beg to be validated by travel lists. It just exists out there, quietly, like it knows it is already one of the most spectacular island nations on the planet. Palau sits in the western Pacific Ocean, northeast of Indonesia and just east of the Philippines. On a map it looks small, almost like a dot you might miss. In real life, it feels like an emerald labyrinth rising out of neon blue seas. While honeymooners crowd the carefully curated dreamscape of Bora Bora, Palau stays raw, dramatic, and honestly a little unbelievable. This is not just another tropical island. This is Oceania at its most cinematic. The heart of Palau is the Rock Islands, a UNESCO World Heritage Site made up of hundreds of mushroom-shaped limestone islets scattered across turquoise lagoons. And I need you to picture this properly, because words almost fail here. From above, they look like floating green domes, perfectly rounded, suspended in water so bright it seems lit from inside. The colors are not subtle, they are bold, almost electric. From sea level, the vibe shifts completely. The islands feel prehistoric, like something from a time when the world was still being designed. You do not just visit the Rock Islands, you navigate them, you weave through them, you disappear into them. Kayaking here feels like exploring a secret planet. Every turn gives you a new scene. Hidden beaches that look like they were reserved for one person only. Narrow channels carved through limestone, little pockets of silence where the water goes glassy. Then you glance down and realize the lagoon is so clear you can see fish shadows sliding over sand far below you. It is the kind of clarity that makes your brain do a double take. And just when you think you have reached peak surreal, Palau hits you with the thing that sounds fake until you are actually there. Jellyfish Lake. Yes, an actual marine lake that, when it is open and thriving, can be filled with golden jellyfish. Over centuries, these jellyfish evolved without the same predators they would face in the open ocean, and much of their sting softened. So you can swim among them, surrounded by soft, pulsing gold drifting through warm, calm water. Sunlight filters down from above, and the whole lake glows, like you are floating inside a living dream. It is peaceful in a way that is hard to explain. Not adrenaline, not chaos, not look-at-me energy. It feels almost spiritual, like the whole place is asking you to slow down and just exist for a minute. But here's the twist. Palau is not only beautiful on the surface. Beneath the waves, it might be the greatest diving destination on Earth. Palau's dive sites are legendary, especially places like Blue Corner. This is where the ocean turns into a theater. Powerful currents pull life in like a magnet, and suddenly you are looking at sharks cruising past, giant groupers hovering with that ancient, calm expression, barracudas flashing like blades, and swirling schools of snapper so dense they feel like weather. The biodiversity is staggering. It does not feel staged. It feels like you are watching the ocean doing what it was always supposed to do, when it is healthy and protected and allowed to stay wild. And that protection is not an accident. Palau made a global statement by prioritizing ocean conservation, with policies that protect most of its surrounding waters. You can see it in the reefs, in the abundance, in how alive everything looks. Now, even if you are not a diver, do not click away, because Palau does not gatekeep its magic. Snorkeling here is enough to leave you speechless. Coral reefs stretch endlessly, vibrant and living, often just meters from shore. You do not need to go deep to understand what makes this place different. You just need to put your face in the water and let reality do the flexing. While the ocean gets most of the attention, Palau also has something quieter, something that stays with you for a different reason. Culturally, Palau offers depth without noise. You will find traditional Bai meeting houses decorated with intricate storytelling murals that reflect a society deeply connected to land and sea. These are not random tourist backdrops. They are living expressions of identity, history, and community. Outside Koror, in villages where life still moves slowly, you can feel a kind of balance that many places lost the moment tourism arrived, because that is another big difference here. There are no massive resorts dominating the coastline, no cruise ship chaos, no strip of identical souvenir shops trying to sell you paradise in plastic packaging. Just jungle, ocean, and a strong sense that Palau is not for conquering, it is for respecting. Now let us talk about where to stay, because this is where Palau surprises people. If you are expecting rows of overwater villas like in Bora Bora, you will not find that scale here. And honestly, that is exactly the point. Palau feels intimate. Accommodations here tend to be lower rise, closer to the community, and more about access to nature than showing off a postcard aesthetic. The most iconic luxury property is Palau Pacific Resort, set on a private white sand beach framed by palm trees and tropical gardens. The design blends traditional island architecture with understated elegance. You get ocean view rooms and villas, an infinity pool that looks out toward the reef, and direct access to world-class snorkeling literally steps from your room. It is refined without feeling artificial, like it belongs there instead of sitting on top of the landscape. For something more boutique and design-focused, Palau Royal Resort leans modern, with polished rooms and balconies that look out toward the marina. It is comfortable, convenient, and it puts you in a great position for island hopping tours and exploring the main areas without feeling isolated. But what truly defines Palau are the smaller, family-run lodges and eco-retreats. These places do not scream luxury. They offer something rarer, authenticity. This is the side of paradise no polished brochure can fully capture because it is not designed to be consumed. It is designed to be lived. This is also why the best stays in Palau are the ones that align with how you plan to move. If you are diving every day, a dive-centric hotel that can handle gear, early departures, and no-stress scheduling is a better pick than a fancy lobby. If you are here for lagoons and kayaking, being close to the docks matters more than having a dramatic suite. Palau's accommodation scene is built around the reality of the destination. You spend the day outside, you come back sun-tired and happy, and you sleep hard. Comfort matters, but the island is always the main character. Even getting here reinforces that. Palau is not the kind of place you casually stumble into. Most international travelers connect through regional hubs before arriving at Palau International Airport near Koror. It takes effort, it takes intention, and that effort filters the crowds. So when you arrive, it does not feel like you are stepping into a destination that has been overhandled. It feels like you are stepping into something you had to earn. And the experience is not just what you see, it is how it feels. Palau has this rare ability to make you forget the performative version of travel, the one where every moment has to be optimized for a photo. Here, the best scenes happen when you are not even thinking about content, when you are sitting on the edge of a boat, salt drying on your skin, watching the rock islands slide past like a moving painting. A typical day in Palau is simple on paper and unreal in practice. You start early because the light is softer and the lagoons look like liquid glass. You hop between snorkeling spots, tiny beaches, and channels so narrow you feel like you are sneaking through the planet. At lunch, you eat on the sand with wet hair and no signal, and somehow that becomes the highlight. Later, when the sun drops, Koror slows down. It is not nightlife in the flashy sense. It is more like a quiet exhale, a good dinner, a walk near the water, and a sky that reminds you how far you travelled from the noise. And if you want to go deeper than the obvious hits, Palau rewards you for curiosity. There are inland landscapes on the Big Island where the jungle gets thick and the air smells like rain. There are viewpoints where you look out and the lagoon turns into a mosaic of blues. There are also layers of history here, including World War II sites that sit in the background like a reminder that beauty and reality can share the same space. Palau also makes you travel a little better. Not in a preachy way, just in a practical, grown-up way. You will hear people talk about reef-safe sunscreen, about not touching coral, about moving like a guest instead of an owner. And it lands because you can see what is being protected. When a place is this alive, you do not want to be the reason it loses that. And once you get used to that rhythm, you stop chasing the perfect shot. You just let the place happen to you, and it delivers anyway. That is when Palau hits the hardest, quietly. Which brings us to the question people always want answered. So, is Palau better than Bora Bora? If what you want is the overwater bungalow lifestyle, the perfectly curated honeymoon aesthetic, the classic luxury postcard that looks flawless from every angle, Bora Bora might win for you. It delivers exactly what it promises, and there is a reason it is famous. But if you want adventure, real biodiversity, a sense of discovery, and a destination that feels like stepping into Earth's hidden blueprint for paradise, Palau might just be the most extraordinary tropical place you have never seriously considered. And maybe that is exactly why it is better. Because Palau does not feel like a product, it feels like a world. Palau isn't just another tropical stop on the map. It's the kind of place that stays in your head long after you leave, wild, alive, and quietly unforgettable. And that's exactly why we travel. Here at Travelling Heavens, we're not just chasing views, we're chasing places that make you feel something real. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next heaven.